Welcome back to Hasbro's Hide. In this time of political insanity, I've been doing a few videos on things we can find, components we can find, things we can do related to reloading, because everybody's anticipating, you know, just insanity and outright assault on our Second Amendment rights. So I thought I'd show you some of the things I've been able to find and some things I think we can continue to test with. So this is going to be a 5.56 video, and it's related specifically to bulk bullets. Now these are truly bulk bullets, okay? So this is Lake City M193 55 grains, picked up years ago from Widener's, okay? And so these, they're just bulk, right? They're really not that accurate. I've not found a powder yet that really makes them under 2-inch type groups at 100 yards. And we'll see. I've never shot them with the Ramshot TAC, which I was also able to pick up locally, and very fortunate to get that. Well, we're going to compare them against Lightning Ammo's 55 grain bullets. Now, this is a really cool packaging thing they do. These are 100 in a tin, and the tin is just cool. I mean, I just like it. I'll keep it as tin for a while, but we'll probably shoot out of this bag and shoot those out of here. But I was able also, though, from the same source to buy in bulk. And so here is 1,000, right, of the same bullet. So we'll be able to shoot for a little while in that. So that's today's video. That we're going to shoot Lake City bulk against Lightning bulk, which will still be had, still were relatively cheap. The store was awesome that I got these from here locally, that they hadn't jacked up the prices like many are doing, and they tried to keep them for local customers as well, which was really nice. So I was able to do that and pick these up, and so I can shoot for a while now with these two alone. So what we're also going to use, though, now this is more for my precision rounds, but I already have these loaded. This Lake City 18 5.56 brass, loaded up with Remington 7.5 bench rest primers. Now, normally I wouldn't shoot a bench rest primer with these, but I've had these packaged, or had these primed for a while. I just kept going on one day when I was priming, so I kept going and had a few ahead. Well, they've been in here long enough. There's Deskin in there with them, but they've been in there long enough. I think I want to shoot them up, and so that's what we're going to use for today. So anyway, we're going to work on these bulk bullets. Now, since we're using Ramshot, I had to look up, because I've only shot this once in .308 out of this jug so far, and it shot great. It was no problem, but it's also versatile for 5.56, 6.5 Grendel. We're going to shoot it in that too later on. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to shoot 5 charges, and we're going to shoot 5 rounds at each charge, and do our optimal charge weight studies. Now, we're going to start down at 23.3 grains and go up in 0.3 increments up to 25.3. So 24.3 up to 25.3, and we should be able to reach our goals in that, and at least have something to study. So anyway, that's what we'll do: 24.3, 24.6, 24.9, 25.2, and then 25.3 to make it really clear. That's our charge weights for today. Now, 25.5 is a 1/10 below Hornady's book maximum for this powder. So and that's 5.56 pressures, by the way. So don't try this at home, folks. You know, it's just one of these things that I'll be pushing the limit, watching for pressure signs, not going above the published books yet, but these are 5.56 pressures, not 2.23. And so I need to be very careful and take that as a warning. Use at your own risk. So anyway, we're going to load these also. The book recommended 2.20 overall length. That's really short. I never shoot that short. Now these are 55 grain bullets too, so I think I'm going to push that on out a little bit and shoot at 2.40, and just give yourself a little bit more case room. And who knows, that will lower the pressure a little bit in the case, so that will make that upper end maybe not quite so bad. But it's also cold outside, and that tends to build pressure. So we're going to just bump our case just a little bit longer and sort of account for that. We'll see what happens accuracy wise. So anyway, what we're also going to do, though, is, since these are new bullets, these are new to me. I don't know if anybody else is, if you've shot these before, comment below, because I've not fired anything from them yet, but this will be a fun challenge. We're going to shoot them side by side with this, but we'll break out the microscope, calipers, and we'll weigh a few, and let's take a look at the bullets themselves difference, because everything else now will be exactly the same brass primer and powder loads, just varying the bullets. So let's reposition our camera and take a look. All right, let's go ahead and start weighing some of these and checking out the differences between our Lake City bulk 55 grain and our Lightning bulk 55 grain. So on the left here is Lake City, and let's just weigh 10 and we'll look at the averages. So 54.74. I just grabbed 10 out of the bag at random. 55.30. Might see why these are less than accurate. 55.02. 55.2, oh, 0.24, excuse me. 55.04. 54.36. Well, that's not the best thing to do. 54.92. 55.04. Number 9. 54.96. And 55.16. All right, I'll do the stats and I'll post them in this video so you can see what they are. But there's a good bit of range there, variation on the Lake City. So now let's try the Lightning. And let's see on the same scale what's going on with them. 55.24. 55.04. 55.16. 55.18. 55.16. 55.26. 55.02. 55.18. 55.06. Looks like I only grabbed 9, so I'm going to grab another one here. I decided to pull them out of the bulk bag instead of opening that package in the tin. I'll just leave the tin where it's like it is. It's kind of cool. 55.32. So we'll run the numbers, but I can tell you right away that the Lightning are much more consistent on weight. They're all in the 55s. The low is 55.02 and the max is 55.32. Whereas in the Lake City, the low was all the way down 54.36 and the max is, let's see, 55.30. So almost a full grain variation in Lake City and less than 3/10 then on the Lightning. So that's good. That's a first basic check of quality, at least to get some indicator that the weight is more consistent in only 10 bullets, but at least an indication that it seems to be more consistent. So now let's take a look, and we'll zoom up these with a microscope and take a look at them a little bit closer. All right, so now we get the microscope set up. I had to back it a good ways and focus in so we could see both bullets side by side, but it gives us a really good picture. If you haven't seen the review on this, check out the review I posted on this microscope. It's just it's really good quality and not very expensive. So you check it out. But back to our bullets. you can see the difference. The Lake City is on the left and the Lightning is on the right, and there's a considerable difference in their shape, their design, the cantilever type and design and size, etc. So let me zoom on in just a little bit more and you might be able to see this better. There we go. So now you can see it in this picture. So the nose of the bullet on the Lightning is much wider. It's a larger diameter nose and more rounded, whereas the Lake City is smaller and a little bit more pointed. You can see the taper coming down to the ogive is quite a bit different. So the ogive on this one is going to be pushed a lot farther forward. I'll get the bullet comparator out. We're going to measure the bullet base to ogive, and we'll check that out in just a minute. The other thing you can notice then obviously is this cantilever. So the Lake City has a very small, narrow, light cantilever in there. It's really nicely done. This is much more aggressive on the Lightning. You can see it's a bigger size, it's taller and wider in these serrations that are rolled into it, but it's also quite a bit deeper. You can tell by the depressions here. So is that a good thing? I don't know. For securing your bullet it is. Probably not so much for accuracy, but we'll see. The weights are more consistent, so we'll see what the effect maybe of this cantilever does beyond the shape of the bullet, of course. And then the final thing to note here is, well, a couple things here, is the taper on the boat tail. The taper on the Lake City starts up much higher. They end up about the same diameter, but this one starts higher, and you can actually sort of see that by the shadow effect where it stops here and where it stops here. So the Lightning bullet comes down farther and has a more radical taper on the boat tail. They end up, like say, right at the same diameter, but it's where it starts. It's quite a bit different. So you could imagine from a drag perspective, this might be a little bit better. But does it matter enough on a 55 grain? Yeah, I don't know. I doubt it. We'll see. Okay, so that's the initial look at this. One other thing you can see then is the color difference. Now this is, and you know, I've had this Lake City a lot longer. Now they've been in a bag sealed up, but it could be just a slight difference in the formulation of the copper on there. Could just be they didn't polish the same. Could just be its age. I don't know. The Lightning I've just recently purchased, so I would assume they have to be newer manufactured than my Lake Cities, which I've had this bulk package of Lake Cities for probably 10 years. So anyway, interesting differences. They're definitely not from the same design, probably not the same manufacturer, the way everything's done here. So this should be a really good comparison between two completely different 55 grain bulk bullets. So let's now take a look at this with the bullet comparator. All right, we've got a bullet comparator all set up, and let's check them out. Now on the left here is the Lake City, and so let's see what its bullet-based ogive reading is. We're just going to do one of each. We could do a lot more and do the stats, but I'm not really caring about that. So 0.390, you see that hopefully, 0.390 inches bullet base to ogive, or the theoretical point at which we'd engage our rifling. So now let's take a look at our Lightning. 0.409 and a half. Just check that. I like to wiggle these a little bit just to make sure. It's hard to reach in there with your fingers and get that thing to set just perfect. 0.409 to 0.390 to 0.409 are 19 thousandths of an inch difference. That's quite a bit. Yeah, that's quite a bit difference. So that shows, you could see that difference in the camera images that we saw. You could see that the base is different up here, and the nose shape was different. The taper was all. So that gives us a number from which we can use as a baseline. So yeah, the bullets, they're not the same. That's great. That gives us a good variety, but they're both bulk 55 grain bullets. So we'll have that on record. We'll sort of reference that, and let's get to loading these up, and we'll see how they fly. All right, now we're starting the charging of our cases, and we're starting at 24.3. I've got 3 of them, I guess, already done, and the RCBS Chargemaster light seems to be throwing pretty consistently now on target. So 24.3 there, 24.28 here, and 24.26 here, just slightly different. So sometimes you need to settle that scale into 24.3, so they are in agreement. And so we'll continue this. Now, I won't stay and show you all this because there's 50 cases to load. But what I am doing is loading two rows of the same charge at each step, and then we'll alternate bullets as we load these between these two. And that way we're going to have 5 of each run consecutively, one after the other, and hopefully make this more consistent. So let me get these all loaded up, and then we'll show the bullet seating. Continuing on now, the seating of our Lightning bullets. I did have to back the die out. I did that just as a precaution since this has a longer bullet-based ogive, and then come back down a little bit. And it's about 15 thousandths longer than it was for the Lake City, about where it hits on the ogive, and that's pretty close to our 18, 19 thousandths difference that we were measuring. So that's just to be expected. But if you didn't check your bullets and tried to seat them the same, you'd be a little frustrated because these would have been seating much farther down in the case. So anyway, we'll just finish these up, and then we'll be able to go hit the range.
Now they're coming back. Fire the rifle.
All right, welcome back in from the range. Here on our 5.56 rounds, this is the ones loaded with the Lake City 55 grain bullets, and of course TAC powder, all these going from 24.3 up to 25.5. And then over here is our Lightning bullets from the same 24.3 up to 25.5 powder charges. There's nothing to see here. Pressures are fine for all of them. No ejector or extractor marks or smears. Primers are all good. There's no cratering. They're all rounded. So it shows that we're fine. And this was up near the maximum on all these, within 1/10 of a grain of max. And so, but really no pressure issues at all. But when you look at the targets, we'll see a lot more difference than we can see in just this brass. So let's take a look at them. All right, now to take a look at this target. You might think this is a shotgun and somebody shooting buckshot, but the answer, unfortunately, is no. This Lake City bullet, I bought 6,000 of them a few years ago, and I've shot most of them up now. It is the worst bullet I think I've ever shot out of an AR. And it started this way when I had just a straight DPMS Panther rifle, right? No upgrades, no anything. It shot, yeah, not good. And then, like 3 MOA or greater. no matter what powder I threw at it. And so I was not surprised by this result here. In fact, they were so bad that I didn't even measure the group sizes. You can check these for yourself. We watched the videos, but they're just everywhere. I mean, the best might be somewhere in a 2.5 inch range. They're horrible. But, you know, hey, for stockpiling, for putting a few in the safe just so you can go plinking anytime you want to shoot steel, that's fine. Maybe that's the best case for them. But that's one bulk bullet. Now we shoot the Lightning. And the Lightning started off kind of, you know, better. It definitely grouped better in all cases. In fact, in all cases, it grouped better than the Lake City. Exact same powder charges, exact same powder. And we see then that first target on the left there is a 1.56 MOA here. You know, it's not great, but for a bulk 55 grain, you know, it's a place to start, right? And so then we had them open up a little bit here, and I just didn't bother measuring them. Open up here just a little bit again. You're not terrible, but then one fell out, and then here, and one falls out here. So, you know, I was a little frustrated, didn't measure those, but then I shoot the last group here, and it starts to look better. At the higher powder charges, at least at this case, it seemed to do better. And we still have room to move up based on the pressure signs we saw in the case. So this is 25.5 grains, and that's a 1.24 5 MOA group, and so that's respectable out of a bulk bullet. I think we can get better than that. So we'll see how good we can get with this Lightning bullet. I don't think I'll bother with the Lake City anymore. I'll keep those around, you know, as your just in case you got to load something bullet. But it's just not worth the time and the powder, I'm afraid, for these. I've shot them with several powders now, you know, and really nothing has helped that bullet at all. So anyway, I thought you might like to see this. So bulk bullet to bulk bullet, cheap powder to cheap powder, and cheap primer to cheap primer here with these Wolf, you know, primer. Excuse me, these are the good powders, good primers. I misspoke. These are the Remington 7.5 bench rest primers, and so even good primers didn't help the Lake City. But anyway, you know, very affordable ammunition in general, even with today's craziness. And so there is some hope here, though. You can shoot that for fun all day long. Even if you want to go hunting with this caliber, depending what you're after, you could definitely hunt with that, no problem. Some of these others, you know, except for that first one, maybe not. But that one is looking good. So anyway, we'll do a little bit more load development on this, you know, bulk available cheap ammo kind of thing. Shooting out of a gun, this gun shoots below 0.4 MOA, just below 0.4 in an AR platform. I think that's awesome. I'm shooting 77 grain Sierra Max Kings, very highly developed rounds. But it's an awesome shooting gun. The gun, I don't know if I mentioned, is an upgraded DPMS with a White Oak Armament 18-inch SPR barrel. And it's got Larue triggers and, you know, Vortex Strike Eagle scope and things like that. So it's a good gun. It's a really good gun. That barrel is just amazing. But even with a great barrel, crappy bullets can overcome a great barrel. So anyway, I thought you might like this. And if you do, please like and subscribe.